the first time, it actually tried to hurt us. It threw a knife into the bedroom wall while we were still in it. And what stayed with me wasn't just the sound or where it landed. It was that I had already heard something move inside the room before it happened. Not from the hallway, not from outside, inside with us. And when he got up and checked the house, there was no one anywhere, and I stayed sitting up in bed because it didn't feel empty after that. It felt like something had just stepped back out of sight and was still there, and up until that point none of it had felt serious. We had just moved in early October, quiet suburban street, spaced out houses, nothing strange about it. Evenings calm, the kind of place where you don't think twice about anything. And the first few days were normal, unpacking boxes, setting up the kitchen, arguing about small stuff like where things should go, him working out in the garage while I handled the inside. And that's why the early things didn't land the way they should have, because they were small and easy to brush off, like I would leave something somewhere and find it in a different spot later, or I'd close a cabinet and come back and it would be slightly open again, not wide, just enough to notice. And one night, around maybe 2:30 or 3, I woke up because I heard a kitchen drawer open and close clearly, not a house noise, not something settling. And I asked him if he had gone in there, and he said no, without even really waking up. And I didn't go check. I just stayed in bed and tried to ignore it, even though I knew exactly what I heard. And after that, it didn't stay small. The TV cracked one night while we were asleep, loud enough to wake both of us at the same time. And when he went to check, I stayed in bed. But I could tell something was wrong just from how quiet it felt after. And when he came back and said the screen had split straight across with nothing touching it, I didn't have an explanation for that. And things started happening while we were there watching. Cabinets didn't just open anymore, they shut hard. While I was standing right there, lights would go out in one room and stay normal in another. And one time, I was in the dining area, and one of the chairs moved slightly on its own, and I didn't go near it. I just stood there because I knew I hadn't touched it, and we still stayed. We kept telling ourselves it wasn't anything serious until that night in the bedroom, when I woke up again to movement near the door, slow enough that I knew it wasn't us. And when I sat up, the door was already open, and I knew I had closed it before we slept. I remember doing it, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to draw attention to the fact that I was awake. And then the knife hit the wall next to the bed hard enough to make me flinch. And I didn't understand what it was at first until I saw it on the floor and realized it came from our kitchen. And it wasn't across the room or somewhere random. It landed right next to where we were. And I didn't get out of bed because it didn't feel over. It felt like it had stopped on purpose. And when he checked the house and found nothing, I already knew that didn't mean anything, because whatever this was didn't need to be seen to stay there. And that was when it stopped feeling like random things happening in a new house and started feeling like something in that house had already noticed us and was staying close. The next morning, we didn't call the police because it didn't feel like someone breaking in. So we called someone who deals with things like this And when he came that evening right before it got dark, I remember feeling like we should have called sooner, because he walked in and slowed down almost immediately, like he had stepped into something that was already there before us. And he didn't try to reassure us or explain anything. He just moved through the house quietly, stopping in places that didn't make sense to me. And at one point, he asked how long it had been happening without looking at us. And when my husband said a few days, he paused slightly, and that's when it hit me that whatever this was hadn't started with us. And when he set one of his devices on the table, it gave off a steady static sound that didn't change no matter where he moved it. And he didn't explain it. He just kept looking around, like he was trying to confirm something. And then the house answered him. A door upstairs slammed hard enough to shake the ceiling, and I felt it through the floor. And he looked up right away, like he expected that, and he told us to stay where we were. But before he could finish, one of his devices slid off the table sideways and hit the floor, not tipping, not falling, moving first. And he stepped back, and right then, a knife came out of the kitchen and hit the wall behind him, exactly where he had been standing. And that was the first time I saw him react, not panic, but change, like he understood something had just crossed a line. And he didn't try to explain anything after that. He just said we needed to leave, and everything after that felt like it was trying to stop us. His equipment started failing one after the other, like it was being shut down. One device in his hand cracked while he was holding it, and he dropped it immediately, and something started moving upstairs again. But this time, it wasn't slow, it was fast and heavy, going from one end of the house to the other. And he backed toward us and said we were already too late to deal with it inside. And the way he said it made it clear we weren't dealing with the house anymore. We were trying to get out of it. And that was when it hit me that leaving might not be simple, because everything happening now was happening right where we were. And right when he said that something hit the wall next to him again, hard enough to throw him off balance. And it was closer than before. And then the lights started going out, one room at a time, not flickering, just cutting off. And when ours went dark last, I couldn't see anything clearly. And it felt like we were being boxed in. And he didn't check anything else. He just told us to move. And this time, his voice sounded different, like he knew we didn't have time. And when we ran to the door, it didn't open the first time. And that's when it stopped feeling like we were leaving and started feeling like we might not be able to, because it wasn't stuck like a normal door. It wouldn't move at all. And in that second, I knew whatever was inside didn't want us getting out, and he forced it open hard enough that it suddenly gave way. And as it opened, something hit the wall right behind him again, close enough that if he had been any slower, it would have hit him. And we didn't stop to look back. We just got out, got into the car and left. And even then, he kept looking at the house, like he was expecting it to follow. And he didn't say anything for a long time. No explanation, nothing to make sense of it, just sitting there staring at it, like he had walked into something he didn't fully understand. And what stayed with me after wasn't just what happened inside. It was how close it felt to not letting us leave at all.